Des.
Are we live? Are we live, Jim?
We are. So, yeah, everybody just let us know that you can hear us okay. Maybe some sort of graininess to the images, but just let us know. As long as we can hear Des, that's the main thing. Pretty certain we're live because I've got it on my screen here and we're about to pop up. So, let's just double check.
Well, if we are actually on, like Jake said, put your thumbs up. If you can hear me, welcome to the live Sonubaits Q&A. I'm obviously not in my garage. I don't carry this much stock.
Of every brand.
I am in a tackle shop because it's the easiest place to do it. And we're going to talk everything about baits, what I've been up to, see what Jake's been back fishing a little bit as well. He's been allowed out. So,
yeah, let's...
he's obviously been doing something wrong.
Yeah, let's start with what you've been up to. So you've been down to Tamar again, I believe.
I have. I fished with Graham West. We get on really, really well. We always try and stick with each other for like the pairs matches, and we stay together on some of the festivals as well. This time round was the Feederland pairs competition, but that was any method. So it was pole and feeder. You could do what you want. The first day, we decided I would go on the Devon bank, and Graham would go on the Devon, I would go on the Cornwall. And the previous 4 days to that weekend just gone, there was basically a 4-day festival there. So a lot of that reservoir had bait for 4 days in a row, which is where really I wanted to draw on one of those pegs. Unfortunately, I drew right at the very end. I drew peg 1, which was an end. It's right up in the shallows, mega long water. And I've done something to my knee. Don't know what I've done. I've pulled something in my knee. Yeah, and it was a bit of a long walk up there, to be honest, not going to lie. I could have done with an electric trolley, but anyway, I got gritted my teeth, got up there. It was really, really shallow. And obviously with the Feeder Masters final coming up, I really wanted a couple of days on the feeder, I'm not going to lie, because it was a bit of a practice for that as well.
Yeah.
I think with no bait going up there, it's always going to be the case of getting your head down. Graham drew a nice peg on the Cornwall, on the Devon bank, so he was basically going to be fishing the feeder all day. The weather was quite kind to us on the Saturday, it wasn't too bad. We had a few heavy showers. So, cut long story short, I just used my same mix that I was just what I've been using down there. Got my head down, caught loads of roach. I couldn't catch them really short. I had to keep going to sort of a top kitten 3, which slowed you down. I've ended up
which is pretty short, but you can, like Tamar's one of them venues for small fish. You can catch them on a top kit and a top kitten 1, can't you? At times. Yeah,
they can catch them right under their keep nets. Which wasn't the case up there. I've ended up with 12 kilo, 200, and I felt that I should have caught more. I wasn't quite right. I needed probably a couple more rigs set up to fish the hand at a top kitten 1 or a top kitten a short 3. I know that sounds, it's not a lot, but when you're fishing the hand,
yeah,
to get that right is pretty. And I didn't quite. I wasn't quite right for it, I'm not going to lie. But I made the most of it. I caught a lot of roach. In the end, I was fishing a top kitten 1, basically swinging it, like just grabbing the roach. And
by you weren't quite right for it, was that because you'd gone there sort of thinking you want to go and fish a feeder because of the Feeder Masters final coming up, or you just weren't? What was the situation
there? Not so much that. I think I was just a little bit unsure of not going. If I'd have gone there the day before, you can understand how far you can catch. You know what elastics you can. Yeah, it's like a bit. I don't bother with whips so much because there's a lot of decent fish in there. You know, if you look at a great big perch, or I'll tell you about what happened on Sunday in a minute, which was just insane considering you're fishing like 120 acre natural water. But anyway, I've ended up with 12 kilo. That won the mini section up there. I think 12 kilos, 700 was the top weight in my sort of 10 or 12 pegs, which was good. There was a lot of people in Tamar terms, which is still 14, 15 pounds, which is mega days fishing.
Yeah.
And then obviously when you got down by the quarry, the weights went up a little bit. I think 15 kilos was the top weight on that bank that day. So we come off of there. Graham caught, I think, 13 or 14 kilo. He's caught mostly on the feeder. He said his peg was absolutely solid at the end. And we were fourth on day one. And then day two, I obviously swapped over to the Cornwall bank. Sorry, the Devon bank. I keep getting them mixed up. I drew peg 8. Graham drew a nice peg. He drew peg 5, which is what they call skimmer point, but it didn't actually fish very well on the Saturday. That just shows you, with a little bit of bait on, he's actually had a real nice day. He's ended up with 76 skimmers and a few roads for 13 kilo again. But I've had a mega day. The weather was horrific. The wind was blowing at me, and I've ended up catching on a F1 short kit. I've had 21 kilo, which is like 45 pound of roach and perch, and I've had one skimmer, and I've hooked 15 carp. I've hooked 15 carp on a massive reservoir like that, literally probably 3 foot past my keep nets, and every one of them was massive. Not a chance of getting them out. But that 21 kilo I had actually won the match on the Sunday, and we've ended up winning it by, I think, 3 kilo in the end, the pairs.
Brilliant. So across two days, 2 anglers, it sounds a decent margin in isolation, but across 2 days, 2 anglers, it's so close, isn't it?
Honestly, the festival I fished there, Westies Festival, it was ridiculously close. You cannot believe it. Over 5 days, I think the top 5 were like 3 to 5 kilo. And over like 5 days, is a kilo a day from being fit to winning it. It drives you up the wall. It's so annoying sometimes. But my mix, and I get asked this a lot, what mixes have you been using? If anybody was seeing my previous write-up about Westies, I've actually been using 50-50 green. And I've gone on to that because there's a lot of pellet feeder fishing now at Tamar, and there's also quite a lot of method feeder fishing. And that gives me the ability to bind that up. If anybody knows 50-50, one, it's a really fish-meaty groundbait. It really smells nice. And then in that, I fish with green F1, and I also put a bag of natural fatures.
Yeah.
And that was my mix. So about half a bag of 50-50, quarter of a bag of F1 green, and then a bag of Pro Fatures natural. That's been my mix there since all this pellet feeder fishing's going, because I've had some real nice weights on the pellet feeder, and I've also got a method, and that 50-50 just gives you the ability to actually mould it around a method, or like plug a pellet feeder with it and make it stick in, because it's obviously you're fishing a count of 8 to 10, so it's very, very deep.
Yeah.
So that's been my mix. I fed on Sunday, I fed nearly all my ground bait on the pole. I never actually come off the pole. I wanted to fish the feeder again, but on Sunday the fish were a different stamp to Saturday, and I was sat there just doing my head in, because Ian Gray was to my left, and he had a real nice day on the pellet feeder, and I was gagging to have a go on the pellet feeder for practicing for the just couldn't help it. I got sucked into fishing this top kit. And I wasted quite a lot of the match because the wind was horrendous. It was blowing straight at me. It was pouring down with rain, and I wasted quite a lot of the match trying to put hook names on, because me loops of me mainline were like together, and trying to get a hook through that, it was doing my head in, to be honest. And I looked like 3 carpet, 3 chuck sight at one time. I was like, oh my god, I ran out of hooks.
And how big are these carp at Tamar that you're hooking on a top kit?
I don't think any of the ones I hooked were under double figures. No chance.
Incredible.
I think some of them would have been 20 plus pound, I would say. I would love to go back. I would urge any carp angler or anybody who wants to go down there, once the festival's finished, go down there either straight after the festival's done, or go down the day after with a load of pellets and ground bait and just fish in obviously one of the pegs that have been fished along that Devon bank, and you would have some. I would love to take the cameras there with a pole or even like a little 11-foot pellet wagger rod with a pole rig on it, and I think you'd have God knows what you'd hook. I really don't. You can see them. You can actually see them. People are chucking their baiting after the match, and the carp are so switched onto it now that they're actually coming in. You see them stirring the bottom up. You see the tail patterns in like 2 foot of water. It's incredible.
Is that just the confidence of those fish, similar to like what happens on a commercial, where they get so used to people feeding bait and then like them coming in and thinking that they're safe at a certain time of the day, that sort of thing, where that sort of happened to Tamar, where it's now that heavily fished for matches that the carp have switched onto it?
Yeah, 100%. I think the carp hangers are going there. They're missing a trick, and they're all fishing like 70, 80, 90 yards out, and they're all about the bank.
Yeah.
Because of the bait. They're so used to that bait going in now. It's absolutely mad. It's great fun watching them. I mean, I fished the Garbarino final. That's another one I fished, actually, the Garbarino final. Same mix. I won that, which was nice.
Yeah.
And I had quite a lot of ground bait left over, and it was the last day, and I slung it down the edge, and I could see this big brown stain on the bottom of all my ground bait. I looked down there 10 minutes later, there's a common carp, about 30 pounds, feeding on it. And I walked over to it, and it was like sort of like looked at me, and then it spun off, made a massive bow wave going across the reservoir. But it's mad. They're just so used to coming in and eating all the bait up.
Yeah. Yeah, so
they must think it's Christmas with all that bait going in after the matches.
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned that. So that on the Sunday. So what were the stamper fish then? And are you still using that same mix? Even you said on Saturday when you were catching a smaller stamper fish. Yeah,
exactly the same. Identical mix. I ran out of bait on Sunday. I ran out of all my casters. The only thing I wish I'd taken was some hemp. I didn't actually take any hemp. I wish I did. Whether it made any difference or not, I'm not sure. But I ran out of bait on Sunday. I nearly ran out of ground bait because on Sunday it was a lot windier. The conditions were completely different to Saturday, and it was literally a ball every 2 fish.
Yeah. So that just goes to show, like, so the smaller silverfish, the roach, them smaller skimmers, and everything's tuned into a strong fish meal ground bait. Really, then if you're using 50-50 Thatchers.
Yeah, it's mad. It's absolutely mad. And they want ground bait. If you don't chuck ground bait, you can loose feed. I loose feed as well. But in the end, I'm thinking, what's the point? It was towing through like a train. You'd have laughed. On the Sunday, after about an hour, the wind got up, and I've never seen a lake tow so fast. Your keep nets were like facing that way, literally like fall out. And then your rig would be going past them like that. You chuck some casters in, it's like fishing the River Raven. It's mad. And then, it was but you still caught. But if you didn't put ground bait in, it just didn't work. It was completely different, pointless. You would never have caught those weights of fish with literally not chucking ground bait in. On the Saturday, I actually mixed my ground bait up as I went along because of the size of fish and how they were feeding. I felt like I needed to put a wetter ground bait in, so I wetted my ground bait off, so it made more of a cloud.
Yeah.
And I know on Sunday it was different because it was very, very windy. I mean, it was colouring up. The fish were feeding aggressively. The different stamp of fish, and I needed to make that quite hard. The sort of like put them in hard. But on the Saturday, I needed to make like a bit of a sloppy mix. You're panicking there, Jake. Have we gone off?
No, we're all right.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
But are we? Is there people watching, Jake? Because I don't see me.
Yeah, there's plenty of people watching, and there's plenty of questions coming in as well.
Hello, everybody. Sorry about the weather in the last couple of days because it's been horrific, but hopefully this weekend coming looks a bit better. It looks like we're going to have a bit of a surge in temperatures again, which is brilliant.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, that's what I've been up to. I fished at Acorn Fishery a few times. I qualified for a final there, and I put a bit of time in there. I've had some great fish in there, mega fishing. I've really enjoyed that. To be fair, I'm not travelling too far. Obviously been doing some filming with I got a nice live match coming out pretty soon.
Where did you go for that one? A couple
of those. I actually done on Acorn leading up to the final.
Oh, nice.
And that's come out really, really well. So
yeah,
lots of interesting stuff in it.
By really, really well. I'm guessing that's a bit of a spoiler to the outcome, but I'm sure it'll be a good.
No, it didn't go that well. The film went really well.
Oh, good.
I'll let you see what happens with the fishing when you watch it. So yeah, say no more about that. But the film was brilliant. The fisherman it was in it, me. Well, you make your own mind up about that when you actually see the film. So yeah. So, and apart from that, really, it's back down to Tamar. I've got to do a lot of kit for the feeder masters. I'm going down there next week for a practice with Mark Bartlett, who I'm staying with, because he's qualified. I've gotten so much grief off of him because he qualified before me. So I've been trying. I must admit, it was a massive relief to actually qualify at Staunton Harold, and I did. It was like I come home with a massive smile on my face because I was getting so much grief about that, and it's nice to qualify for that. And yeah, we're down there. So a week this Saturday is the start of the 2-day final down at Tamar again.
Nice.
I just hope the weather holds out. Really, don't get too cold.
Yeah. Well, your form down there when you've been going recent, like the last couple of years, has been fantastic. So it's only a matter of getting on the right pegs, isn't it, for you in the final, which obviously is so important with the calibre of angler.
Yeah, I got to go there with the attitude I went last year. Last year in the final, I drew because I don't remember, Jay. The Sunday weather was horrific.
Yeah.
A lot of people couldn't fish on Sunday. It was a gale force. It was like 17 mile an hour gusts. It was like damaging winds. Do you know what I mean? But last year I got to go there. For me personally, for me to try and compete with the likes of Lee, Carey, Adam, Steve Ringer. Other people that they're too good at this small fish fishing short. I can't. Well, I don't want to do it. I don't really want to do it because I feel like I'm not in the race. So I got to go there, and wherever I draw, I have to go there with a positive attitude to catch skimmers. And I think that's what I done last year. I drew 2 decent areas. I ended up 5th, I think, in the final. And I could have won it if that carp would have counted as it actually. I caught carp again.
Yeah, so what's the situation with carp? Just remind me of that.
It's if you catch a carp and it's under £5, it's the weight that it is. If it's over £5, it counts as £5.
Right.
So I caught one last year in the final, probably £15-16. And that counted as 5, which was a bit of a nightmare because I played that fish for half an hour. I got it out on 0.14. The problem is that, Jake, it took me 40 minutes then to get another bite because at Tamar you've got to be like in and out all the time to feeding, working at it, and when you play a fish for half an hour you're not fishing.
Yeah.
But other people around you are, and I lost a lot of time. If you think I probably lost half an hour playing the carp, and I lost another half an hour, 40 minutes by trying to get the peg back again.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky one. It's the rules. I've got my own opinion on that. I think they should count personally. I know there's keep net things, but there's people there that could just, everybody knows you got one on.
Yeah.
Joe was running around like a headless chicken when he knew I had a carp on and filmed it.
Yeah.
But that's, and I think it takes, for me personally, trying to compete with the best feeder anglers in the country, any of that sort of feeder fishing, and for the average guy as well, it'd be nice to just go, well, if you catch one, if you get it out on that sort of gear, you've done pretty well anyway.
Yeah.
But it's the rule. It's the rules of the fishery. It's not just the feeder master rules; it's the rules for Tamar as well. So
yeah.
It's a shame. It's a shame when you put all that time in getting one out. It just counts what £5. You get one out. Like I got one like a few years ago by the dam, and it was £20. It was £20 at least, and I played it for 45 minutes. I was filming it off the dam.
I remember it.
And it just sort of, but I probably could have got that out, and I played that for so long on a window feeder with an SL.
Yeah.
People were like, they didn't like it very much, obviously, but yeah, it would have only counted as £5 anyway. But at least I could have come off that day not drawing particularly well. If I could have got that out and it would have counted as £20, I could have come off it and gone, I'm in the race now.
Yeah, definitely.
For a Sunday. But anyway, it's the rules of the fishery, but it's just a bit, it's a bit of a gutter when it happens to you. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And it seemed to happen to me quite a bit down there. I hooked 15 on the top hit on Sunday. So
that unbelievable, because that 15 of them, like, that's what, potentially £200 of £200 minimum, really, isn't it? There, the size of them fish.
I was chatting to Ian Gray. I was like, "Hello, Ian, there's another one." He's like, "Yes, I can't. I've never seen nothing like this." And one of the Gloucester guys, I can't remember his name. He drew the end peg on that bank. He's lost 6 as well.
Yeah,
fishing a pole.
Crazy.
Mad, crazy.
Right, let's move on to some questions, because we've had plenty coming in, so best make a start getting through them. But yeah, you've been doing well down at Tamar, so a week on Saturday and Sunday, the feed of Masters final, so that'll be good. Right, so Stephen Brandwood has said, "Hello Des, what's your approach on a commercial snake lake with the drop in temperature, bait, rigs, fishing mainly for carp?"
Well, Stephen, all I can go is, like, obviously the venues I fished. Something really important to me at the moment, and you can try this, it's fishing. One is rigs. Never be afraid to fish a tiny float. I've had some real good. These fish where I fish at Acorn, they're really cute. They're bombing around, and I think with snake lakes with carp, if it is carp, Stephen, I don't know if you're fishing with carp and F1s. Try fishing a really tiny little float. And trying to fish, especially when you're fishing with hard pellets, try fishing like 3 to 4 inches over depth. It only seems to work really well with tiny rig. I've been catching on 4mm hard pellets, much better than 6mm at the moment. I know every venue's slightly different to where we go, but on here, and you're catching decent carp. They're not very, they're not small. The smallest one's probably £3 to, like, double figures. They're really crafty what they'll pick up. I'm fishing with a tiny float. It just sits there and it's just straight under. There's no resistance.
Yeah.
But that's the first thing. Bait-wise, 4mm pellets have been good. Sometimes start on soaked 4mm. I just use those fin 4s, soak them down for a little bit. Have some 2mm as well. And when it goes, then change over to 2mm, feed in 2mm, but keep the 4mm on the hook. That's something I've been doing quite a lot recently, is fishing hard pellets over micros.
Just explain what your where you said there you soak your 4mm. The Fin Perfect 4mm is like is your sort of low oil style pellet, so you can what you'd call like a blown 4mm. What's your process for doing that compared to a 2mm, which a lot of people will be more familiar with soaking up?
Yeah, basically, Jake, you've got the Fin 4s, which are a real good pellet for soaking, and then you've got, hang on, let me get a back reach. But they're the Fin 4s, so like the 4s in that and the 2mm in that are brilliant for soaking.
Yeah.
So the 4mm I soak, literally put the water on them and let them soak for about 2 minutes, drain the water off, and then leave them. Like, do them before, obviously do them as you're setting up. And then you've got those ones, which are the hard pellets.
Yeah. I
don't soak them, they're a different pellet. So they're sort of, that's the ones I've been using on the hook.
Yeah.
Rather than Fin 4s, they're mega for like when the warmer times or the fishing's really, really good.
When you're rattling in hard pellets.
Yeah, you're rattling in carp pellets and things like that. They're brilliant. But those Fin 4s are brilliant when you want them to soak them off and start the breaking down process.
Yeah.
Especially when you're going to a venue where they're a bit switched on to everything.
Yeah.
So they're the two that I'd use.
It's something I do a lot with the Fin 4s from this time on, really, right through now. But when I'm fishing for carp, I'll soak the 4mm and feed softened 4mm feed pellets, and it just seems to work really well. Yeah,
and the 2mm, because I'm not fishing with the method feeder on this venue or the venues I've been going, I put the 2mm fins in a bait tub and put about an inch of water over the top. Don't do it level, put about an inch over, and they suck them all up, soak all the water up, and they stay really sort of just perfect all day. It's no different to what I do down at Tamar. When I go to Tamar, I know it's a natural venue, but I always feed micros as well, and I do the same down there. So an inch over the top of how many pellets you've got in your tub, leave them, do them like I said, do them when you get to your peg, and they stay lovely and soft. and they're just bang on for the job,
Yeah.
really. And you can put them in a pot because they're soaked like to the max. They come out of the pot really easily as well.
Yeah.
When you get a paddock which has not been soaked fully, they can stick in the pot a little bit.
Yeah.
So really soak, like an inch of water over, at least an inch, if not an inch and a bit. They will soak all that water in.
Yeah.
What other ones? Methods, groundbait wise. The last couple of matches I've fished, I started going back to match method mix, and I started putting, because I think everybody probably knows I've been using quite a lot of maggot fish meal during the summer months. But now that water, a lot of water gone in these lakes, the temperature's gone down like 6-7 degrees.
Yeah.
I've started introducing some match method mix now, and then putting like 70% match method mix to 30% of maggot fish meal. That depends on what groundbait you use. Just think about that a little bit more now, because it might not be the case of putting great big pots of groundbait in earlier in your match. You might have to just cad pot it in and catch an individual fish, because they're not coming in until literally late on.
Is that are you speaking about purely in the margins now, or is that a far bank thing as well? Or
Far bank as well, Jake. I mean, it's funny that I've seen over the last couple of weeks that pellets have been really, really good. So you can start on soap fours, fishing a 4 on the hook, then you go back to micros, and then I've put groundbait in, thinking this will get them back, and it hasn't. It's like it's weird. But now, at the last match I fished, groundbait got the fish back.
Yeah.
They're looking for groundbait. That sort of cloud in that is bringing them into your peg, where a week or so ago it was like it wasn't working. Really, really strange, but interesting. That's when you come off the bank thinking, Christ almighty, this is changing now. This is where you've got to be a little bit forward thinking for your next matches.
Yeah.
And I think it don't matter where you go in, like if you're F1 fishing or carp fishing, groundbait at the moment it'll probably bounce back even stronger for a while than even in the height for summer on some venues.
Yeah.
Very interesting. But what else has been working on? Fishing past your keep nets. There's loads of that now. It's no different to what I've been doing at Tamar. Really.
You're just learning everything at Tamar and doing it everywhere else.
Kit challenge. There's lots of fish to be caught like that now, and to be honest, it's deadly.
Yeah.
Big weights. Don't seem to foul up so many carp when you're fishing shorter. So that's something you've got to be aware of. That will change. I'm sure in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I think them fish.
It's something that worked in the very early rounds, the first sort of 2 or 3 rounds at Partridge in the Winter League. So that, even though like now that's currently September, that was like going into November, and there was just a couple of rounds right at the start of that league where we were catching on a top kit. Like in that, it's hard because people are putting keep nets in there and then dragging them out. It ends up having a clear hard bottom in front of everyone's pallet, doesn't it? So you're fishing there, and for whatever reason you just caught an odd better F1 just in your keep net hole basically.
Well, I've done a recent film that was for Sonu at Cobb House. When we done the live match there.
Yeah.
And it's incredible that at the start of not just at the start of the match, obviously you put your nets in 10 minutes before the match, and they're feeding on top of your nets.
Yeah.
They're actually on the top, and you think there's nothing there, but they're so used to the nets. And when I done that film, I actually caught nothing in front of my nets on that venue. You'd think that would be the perfect venue for it.
Yeah.
But they don't. They're like swimming along that deep. They have a munch on your nets, and they just carry off. They just carry on. They don't go down. They don't go down on the bottom. But obviously, some venues they do. So that's one thing you've got to look out for. And like Jake just said, the bottom there is normally very, very clean. No silt. But that film I done at Cobb House was really, I think for a lot of people, it was an eye-opener. It was an eye-opener for me that where I caught on the sill. Mad. That day, when I plumbed up shore, I'm like, oh, here we go. Quids in here, absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
goes out, then the silt starts. I'm like, anywhere I can catch on firm ground, I'm going to just catch loads. I caught absolutely nothing. and that's why we go fishing, isn't it?
Yeah.
For films like that.
Yeah.
I love those films, and that was a classic where just set a rig up just a little bit further out, just in case. And without that, I wouldn't even have framed in that match. Some people call it lucky that I actually set that rig up, and but that's what it's about, isn't it? Where it's fizzing is some days they just want to be on that sill.
Yeah, I don't think luck can come into it when it comes to, like, for example, you're an angler that you pull things like that up where you set up that extra rig every time, or like you set up more than what other people may set up. So I don't think if it's a one-off, I think luck comes into it. But the fact that you do that on a regular basis, I think you it's more.
Just where I draw so bad. I've got to set those sort of rigs up. But going back to what's the name's question, never be afraid to these tiny little folks, Stephen. Honestly, little strung out rigs. Sometimes I'll have the same, down the edge at the moment. What I've learned from not just like venues around here. I remember speaking to Andy May when I went to Partridge, because I took Zoe up there for the Ladies National, and he said, Des, the fish down the edge there, tiny floats. So he was fishing with a 4BH F1 shallow, and you just have it all strung out going down the shelf like a bit like an arc. And if you don't do that, you miss out on so many fish.
Yeah.
And I'm more. I know it's another rig you've got to set up, but it doesn't take that long. So you can have your nice positive rig, 4B14, bolt down or a strung bulk, but have that little baby rig just in case.
Yeah.
Because I think it's massive nowadays. These fish are so cute on some venues. Obviously it depends on the depth of water. There's no point setting up that little tiny rig if it's sort of over 3 foot. I think if you start fishing it in 4 foot, it goes out. It doesn't work either. It's the opposite way.
Yeah.
It just goes a little bit too far then, doesn't it? If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Where you've got no.
But that's. Yeah, there's a bit of insight of what I would be doing on venues. What's going on in a minute. So, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
And when it's fizzing, go back to where it's fizzing. This venue where I am, Acorn, fizzes so bad down the middle, and some of it is silverfish, but honestly, feed corn. I caught corn the other day. I thought I'm not going to bother with. I actually fed micros and fished corn on the hook, and that was really good. It's the only thing you can catch on. It's proper strange. The micros, get them in your peg. You could sit there on maggots, you could sit there on hard pellets, you sit there on soft pellet, hardly get an indication and then you put a piece of corn on, and you definitely caught because of it.
Is that them picking it out better, or because of how heavy the hook bait is that it's just nailing it and they're not wafting it the same, or couldn't tell?
Don't know, Jay. Don't know. All I know is it was the best bait when you're in that, and I think a lot of venues is when it's fizzing. Paste hasn't worked this year here, not like it normally does, and paste works normally brilliant when it's fizzing, as we all know.
Yeah,
it hasn't worked this year, and sometimes in the matches I've been fishing recently, you've got to try and catch as much as you can in the first 3 hours before they come short.
Yeah,
and down the edge, and that was definitely one of them where try and fish the bigger pellets. The amazing thing is I fed 4 mils, you get an odd bubble come up and you can't hardly get a bite. You feed micros, within 30 seconds then micros at the bottom, it's the bubbles are coming up.
Yeah.
And I caught on corn. Without those micros, they just not interested.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how much they love them.
Right. Really strange.
Captain Bagger
I went on a long time, Matt.
For the first question, Captain Baggers said, I think you've answered it probably in that question, but will hard pellet still work in October, or is it time to make a switch to corn?
I think corn, I always take corn, always. I would like to take meat, because I think meat fishing, going back to October bagger, I think that is, if it's allowed on your venue, it has to be in your armoury. Meat always, I think, comes back to life at this time of year when it's had a bit of fresh water, the temperature's gone down. I think if you're going to F1 waters, we all know, like springtime, there's a lot of meat fishing and it wears off, but this is when it can come back. Never, I think you can never write hard pellets off. I think it just depends on the venue, where you draw. If you draw a real goods area, then start on hard pellets.
Yeah.
I think, start on hard pellets. It'd soon tell you it's not right. So no, it isn't time to chuck the hard pellets away. I think there's more hard pellet fishing now, even through the winter months, than ever before. I think, but meat and corn can be brilliant. Even if you might not even catch on them sort of baits until the last hour, but if you do, you can have it away like big style.
Yeah.
Maggots, obviously, maggots is one of them baits in it. Maggots at all time. If you go into Tunnel Barn and place like that, you could take maggots there all year round and you'll still catch on. It just depends on whether you want to fish that way. But it's definitely not the time of year yet to chuck it in the bin. The water's still, I think, 15, 16 degrees.
Yeah.
Which is still warm, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you've got to take, if you're going to an F1 or a cart water at the moment, definitely take some maggots with you just in case, because like I just said, hard pellets. You start on hard pellets, tap a few fours in. The massive thing, and a lot of people don't do it, make some hook links up or buy some hook links with an 18 GPM with a small band and put a 4mm on. There's so many people don't fish 4mm on the hook. It's massive. It really is.
Yeah. Pete Carver has said, morning Des, Powerscope and Match Method Mix Original, are they still okay to use over the next couple of months, or is it time for a different approach?
I think Powerscope, you could use that all year round, as well as Match Method Mix. They are slightly different mixes. They're not Powerscope. I know Andy Powers uses a lot of Powerscope. It's not a big particle groundbait.
No.
It's not. I would say it's probably quite similar to Match Method Mix, to be honest, Jake, isn't it?
Yeah.
Powerscope.
So Powerscope, it's majority crushed expander, obviously with there's like little red flecks in there which are a slightly more like oily pellet, but it's 90% crushed a normal crushed expander with that sweet flavour to it. So if you're using
you could use both of them together, couldn't you?
Exactly, yeah. So like if you're using that crushed expander type ground bait, Powerscope X is one to look at, especially if you like the sort of sweet flavour that goes with it.
Yeah, I think Match Method Mix, use Match Method like I do, is your base mix. When it goes a bit colder, you're not too sure, use Match Method Mix, your base mix, and then you could use it just straight out of the bag, or if you want to put something else with it, then do it that way, just to cut it down. Because I think these fish, like going back to Match Method Mix, as it gets a bit colder, it's just such a nice ground bait to fish with. It's just one of them ground baits, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you could use Powerscope X or Match Method Mix all the way through the winter, not a problem.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially for carp and F1s.
Yeah, definitely. Dazza, afternoon Des. What would be best to use when targeting carp this time of year? Hard pellets or expanders?
You've got to, expanders will come back into it. There's no doubt about it. You've got to have a ton of expanders, haven't you? Every time I go fishing, I always have a handful of expanders because you just never know. You can go over it, you can catch on our pellet and then slip an expander on and you just keep catching. They'll just pick those little soft bits of bait up. I think you just got to have both, mate. I think you just got to take some with you. Even if you go on a tough venue, I think that's when expanders can be really, really, really good. If it's not fishing particularly well, start on expanders, see what happens, and take it from there, really. I think you just be a fool not to take expanders every time you go fishing.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you start feeding micros against the far bank, close in, on shelves and stuff like that. Expanders can be deadly.
Yeah.
I think we're very lazy. I think I'm quite lazy now. Years ago, I'd fish like 14.5 meters, 16 meters with a 4-foot expander on, strike it off with a bite, come back, and I'd be doing that all day. Now I just got to tell you what, off his hard pellet on, because I can't be bothered to shit in and out at 14.5 and 16 meters.
Yeah, but it's amazing. Like a 4mm expander, you will catch everything that's in your peg, won't you? Like you'll catch your skimmers, you'll catch better bream, obviously F1s and carp, obviously, and then anything else that's there, you're likely to catch. Like I think
I see it in the shop at the moment. 4mm pros, 6mm pros are selling more and more and more, and that tells you that people are, you know, just starting now to go from hard, like an out and out hard pellet day, to now feeding smaller pellets, micros, and fishing with a 4 and 6mm expander on the hook.
Yeah.
You know, and that's you know, that's obviously the venues down where I live, but it's happening more and more and more now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And tigerfish.
And tigerfish. Yeah, tigerfish has had a massive thing of this year. There's been so much tigerfish sold.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, tigerfish, isn't it? Because obviously it's got crushed tiger nuts in there, which is such a popular ingredient with carp anglers. Yeah, it is a very popular
milky substance, isn't it?
Yeah,
that makes a massive cloud tigerfish.
Yeah,
like a milk cloud, which I think fish can, you know, love.
Yeah,
and that's sold loads of that.
Yeah,
loads of it.
It's a great mix, tigerfish. Next one, David Griffiths has said,
Hi, David.
I've had a lot of success fishing hard pellets recently. As winter approaches, so it's a similar question, but when do hard pellets stop working and a switch to other baits become necessary? So we're on that sort of theme, which is quite typical. We're going into autumn in the cooler months, so so David's asked a very similar question there. But
I think it's now onwards, David, when you've got to have that bit of open mind. You know, when sometimes when the fizzing slows up, can give you a real good time to start fishing with expanders, and that will stop soon. The fizzing will, you know, slow down as the temperatures drop, and that's when expanders come into their own 100%. I think it's on the verge of going from hard pellet, where expanders will be better than hard pellets, and I think that's what happens. I think hard pellet is hard to beat because it's so efficient. You don't have to ship back and put another bait on if you miss a bite or a liner, or you can just sit there with hard pellet. No, oh yeah, there's one. But then all of a sudden, the hard pellet just goes so slow that you've got to put an expander on to get the bite.
Yeah.
And then you've got to go through a little bit more pain. If you miss a bite, you've got to bring it back and put another bait on. So it's not far off. I don't think it's quite there yet on some venues, but it'll be a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're running out of battery here.
Best get plugged in.
We're not charging, so. He's investigating. We are on red, actually. I wonder, why is that not? Hang on, Jake. Sorry about this, ladies and gentlemen, but we're.
If we lose Des, we're going to be stuck with me answering questions.
Happening. We're back on. We're on live. I don't know, because it might just be where the iPad can't deal with the amount of pressure.
No, it's probably just wiggled his way.
Really? All right, well, we're back on, Jake. We're live.
We're back in business. Good stuff.
Yes, at the moment.
Right, well, I'm a big fan of this.
Oh, I got a fly on the screen, look.
I'm a big fan of this message from Sean Dudley. So Sean has put, hello, I'm going fishing on Friday for the first time in 20 years. So he's back. Things have definitely changed. What bait would you recommend? There's carp, tench and skimmers.
Oh, Sean. got to take a bit of ground bait, mate, because there's skimmers and tench. I'd probably, to be honest, coming back after 20 years, keep it nice and simple. Bit of ground bait, few dead maggots, bit of corn in the mix as well, and just go from fishing with corn, maggots on the hook.
So go on, pick him a mix so that if he went into the tackle shop, what ground bait mix is he going and grabbing?
I think I'd probably just stick with Pro Thatcher's green. Maybe put a little bit of F1 in it, because that gives it a nice smell, and it also just makes it a bit less it makes it a lot easier to mix as well when you put them two together.
Yeah.
Mix it quite damp, so it's a bit not overly wet, but you can put your particles in it and make it stick as a ball.
Yeah, just nice and heavy.
Yeah, put a couple of balls in. Like I said, some dead reds, a bit of corn, and go from fishing with double dead maggot on the hook and just have a nice day's fishing. I think if you're going to come back to fishing, doing that would be the best way of actually doing it. I think you'd enjoy it. You're not going to just go carp mad, and I think that'd be a great little day out for you on a Friday as well.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah, I think take it from there and then get yourself back into it and then move on from there, because it can be quite confusing for someone coming back into fishing, because it has changed so much over the last. Well, it's changed so much after 10 years.
Yeah.
Keep it nice and simple like that, you won't go wrong.
Yeah.
But have a nice day, and how you get on.
Yeah, definitely. That would be good to hear how you get on, Sean, and hopefully you do have a great day. Adam Tennant has put, "Hi Des, can you advise on how to use a back lead and which type when using a method a couple of rod lengths out in the margin, please?"
Yeah, well, back leads, people got their own. Preston used to do a back lead, but I think the sales were so poor that it wasn't really worth doing. I think if you're going to use a back lead now, they use an Olivet.
Yeah.
So you can use a running Olivet. You've got to be careful because of the fishery rules. Because obviously, if you've got to have a free running feeder, then you've got to be careful that you ain't got nothing actually stopping it from flying up the line. So you could use basically a Olivet. So like a gram Olivet definitely help keep the line on the floor. I know some people are putting shot on their line. That's fine if your fishery rules allow, elasticated method feeders. They can put a couple of shot down. I've not really seen much of that, but I think the people I have seen, they use an Olivet. So they use a flying Olivet.
Yeah.
And sort of take it from there, really.
Yeah, it's very much like a carp thing to do, isn't it? It's to keep the line pinned on the bottom so that if fish are mooching in your margins, they're not, the first thing they come into isn't like loose line or a bow of line from your rod, isn't it, basically?
Yeah.
But yeah, like as far as from a matchy perspective,
you've got to be very careful with the rules of the fishery. I think, what you've got to remember with a carp angler, not a carp angler would put his back lead on once he's cast out. He doesn't actually have his back lead on when he casts out. The whole principle of it is they cast out, get their rig where they want it, and then they clip their back lead on and then let it go down. So the whole line from the end of their rod is basically flat on the deck of the lake.
Yeah.
With a match, you can't really do that when you're a match angler or a pleasure angler with a feeder rod. You're not going to clip something on. You probably have a bite and you're getting a right 2 and 8, wouldn't you, with that? So I would use if you're allowed to use, if you're not allowed to use if you are allowed to use like a bolt rig, and you could put a float stop up from your feeder. So you put your Olivet on first, put your float stop on second. So what happens is that Olivet then comes down a foot. Sorry, I can see that. Looks pretty. So you'd have your Olivet like 18 inches up from your feeder, stuck behind the float stop, doing feed, your feeder's there, and that will sink a foot or wherever you want that float stop with your Olivet on it.
Yeah.
But you need an Olivet because obviously it flies up and down the line.
Yeah, but as you've mentioned, you've just got to check the rules, because if it does stipulate free running, that would stop it being truly free running, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So. You would have to have an Olivet. When you cast in it, the clip is such that Olivet should fly back up a little bit to get your line down.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Alexander has said, "Hi Des, hope you are well. My question is, what can I do whilst pleasure fishing to get my match performances to a better standard?"
Well, that has got to be the biggest question I get asked weekly. Coaching, and I don't do that much coaching, but coaching has to be the quickest and the most efficient way of getting you to a better standard, I think. There's no doubt about that. There's loads of people doing coaching. Depends who you want to go with. All I ever hear about coaching is it's made a massive difference to my fishing. Obviously, you've got all the films that we do, which helps you, I'm sure. Well, I hope they do anyway. I'll be out of a job. There's nothing better than actually just going fishing. And I think if you go to a fishery which is a little bit more difficult, not the fisheries that they're literally just jumping on the hook as such. I think go to a fishery where it's a little bit more difficult. You've got to work for your bites a little bit. I think you can learn a lot at that style of fishing. There's a lake near me called Bitterwell. I mean, if you want a lake to practice, that has to be the perfect lake. There's quite a few carp in there, but not thousands and thousands. And they're the sort of lakes where I got brought up on when I was a kid, and I think it made a massive difference to how I become an angler. I know it's different nowadays because we're, like a lot of things in life, we are a bit spoiled in what we get for our money. And I was brought up on, harder venues. If I caught 30 pound of silvers years ago, I'd be like, my God, I've had what a day. What a fantastic day. 30 pound of silvers now is your normal. You look at the weights that they catch now, they're 50, 60, 70, 80 pound of silver. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think coaching, obviously, if you can afford a coaching day, I think that will help you massively. But going to a venue, which ain't, they're not going to just dive on the hook. Do that as well. Keep going and get used to catching fish. Get used to netting fish. Get all the little bits. And when I do some coaching, I always say to people, look, you're efficient. You've got to be efficient at doing what you're doing. So netting a fish, understanding that have the net, getting the confidence of holding the fish without injuring it, using a disgorger. All those little things. The more you go fishing, but just don't do the wrong things. Watch the films that we do. I mean, we probably talk about. And I try and do that in my films that I do. I always try and talk about the little things about, whilst I've got the fish in my net, try and do this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think it's the efficient way and the nicest way of treating fish. So it's a bit of everything with that, but yeah, just keep going. And then if you can afford it, just have a coaching day with one of the good anglers about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got Callum Dix, you've got Andy May. Oh, there's loads of them doing it, isn't there? There's loads of people doing it.
Yeah.
So I think that would help you massively.
Chris Neal got absolutely soaked at the weekend, wet through down to his boxer shorts. I think that's going to be the case if you're...
you are supposed to wear waterproof, Chris.
Well, he says he was doing, so... Yeah, I think there might have been. Yeah, he ended up soaked anyway, but yeah, I think there's a point in when it's absolutely launching it down where there's no stopping it, isn't there?
No, I don't worry. I was pretty lucky because I had chest waders on Sunday, and I had my waterproof coat on. To be fair, I was absolutely all right. Apart from me sleeves, because I was obviously in and out all the time. I had my top kit up, and
it's just running down.
A bit of water had gone up in my sleeves, and I had me. I think what did I have on? I think I had my. I actually decided to put me Celsius coat on, and let me tell you, so if you get them, not Celsius coat, but the Celsius hoodie, if you get them wet, that is they weigh a ton because they're such nice material, but
they absorb all the water.
They love water, them things.
yeah, they're absolutely brilliant when it's like a proper crisp, cold, like that's winter's day. Keep you warm through anything, but yeah, get them soaked and it's like a sponge.
You like a soggy towel.
Gareth Evans says, "Hi Des, I'm a first-time Feeder Masters finalist. Any advice?" I think what you were saying at the very start of the video covers that, does it, Des?
I think so. I think, going back to what I said about the Feeder Masters final, mate, it's a bit daunting. And it's daunting for me. You're dealing with the best of the best in feeder fishing, but they're all there to be beat. I've had Michael Buttwater. Took him out last year. There's no better angler on the feeder than Michael, and you've got all the feeder England team there. But they're not, they don't fish for England feeder team because they're no good at feeder fishing. They're extremely good at it. And to beat them, one, you have to draw in the right area. The nice thing about Tamar is, I think, if you draw in the right area, fish nicely, you'll have a chance.
Yeah.
The advice. Just be ready. You'll need a few rods. You will need a few rods because the weather will affect what rod you need to use. You will definitely need some 50, 60 gram feeder rods because chucking it out in a headwind there is not easy. So make sure you're set up. The advice I can give you, just try and keep it as simple as you can. Plenty of worms, some dead maggots, some casters, a few micros. Come up with the ground bait that you're going to be happy with. I won't be changing the mix that I've been using there. I'll be a fool to do that. I'm just hoping that I can draw 2 nice skimmer pegs. And I'd rather come off. I was actually chatting to Mark about this the other day. And I would rather, if I go there and try and fish for the small fish, right, and I don't do any good, and I probably won't do as well as what I should do, I would rather come off fishing for skimmers and saying, tell you what, I had a chance.
Yeah. At
least I give myself a chance, rather than going, why did I bother with that? Because I was never going to do any good anyway. And that's sort of my attitude to that venue, because it is such a good venue. I mean, if you come off of there with £20, you'll feel like you should have caught £28. And if you come off of there with £40, you should have come off of there with £55.
Yeah.
The amount of indications you get, and liners and stuff like that. I'll tell you what, it's frustrating. I've always said it's like the natural venue of Todborough Manor.
Yeah.
Because if you go there and catch £500, you should have caught 700.
Yeah.
And it's an exceptional fishery. It's incredible. It's very special, very, very special, but very frustrating at the same time, which makes you want to go back.
Yeah, that's what fishing's on. On a far fewer fish level, that's what makes you want to go back to the Gloucester Canal. You think there must be some bream there.
I can, by the way you're laughing, Jake, I would say that's utter rubbish. But there's tons of, God, if you go on the Gloucester Canal for 20 years like I did, then you go to somewhere like Tamar, you're like, Tamar,
I'm never going back.
Definitely worth getting out of bed for and travelling 2 hours. Yeah, that's the only advice I can give you, really. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure you've got some decent rods, because you will need them. Don't get undergunned. I will be doing a couple of 60 gram Superior X rods, because if you get a headwind, you will need that.
Yeah, fair enough. David has said, good luck at Tamar. What are your thoughts on the new Absolute Compact seat box? And then he's compared the price, says it's a bit pricey compared to the full size Absolute.
Hi David, thanks for that, mate. Right, Tamar. Well, all I'll say, and I think you've probably seen it in my film, that H-frame is the best H-frame box ever made, 100%. It is solid as a rock. Yes, I know they're a little bit more money than probably the previous, but there's a lot of difference in that. You've got 36mm legs. The foot plate is solid. I actually made one up this morning for the guy who's just bought one, and he said that is absolutely beautiful. He sat on it, and it is solid.
Yeah.
And that, to make a H-frame box like that, it's not going to be a cheap box.
No, and I think
but,
with what, 4 years down the line from when the Absolutes were released, 3 years maybe, something like that. The technology and like what's going into this now, that the H-frame boxes are 36mm, whereas like the old compacts were 30mm, that sort of thing. Is where that price is, as the gaps close, sort of thing.
If anybody's looking for a lightweight box, picking that up because you've got no of the other frame below it, it makes a huge difference. And you can take, the nice thing is you can take the middle unit off. So if you don't want, because that comes with a shallow side drawer, it comes with a deep side drawer unit, and then it also comes with that 70mm base unit, which sits in the frame of the box. You can actually take the middle deep side drawer unit off if you wanted to, so that could sort of either leave it off, or you could put that in your stack system. So for a lot of people looking for a box, I know a lot of people out there said, look, I want a box, I want it really stable. Before that was produced, you'd have to go, look mate, you want a box which is really stable because you're worried about collapsing or whatever, you just say, look, you need an absolute 36. And then a lot of people would say, well, no, it's a bit too much for me. Now that, with the weight loss, which is what I'm doing, by the way, I'm even doing a bit of weight loss. I need to be an absolute.
An absolute compact rather than an absolute station.
Absolute mess at the minute.
Absolute compact rather than an absolute mess.
So yeah, I would say get into your locals. The people that have actually bought them and I've made it up, they're like, that is absolutely stunning, and it's so light to pick up. And obviously you can take the foot plate out, if you want to. And for a lot of people that are taking it to their pegs, they want to carry it to their pegs. I could use one. I can honestly say, for a lot of my commercial fishing, I could use that box, no problem at all. Not a problem. And that's how good it is, So that's, until you sit on one, have a go of it, and what you've got to remember is you can adjust that foot plate to exactly how you want it. But one thing I will say about a H-frame box, once you set it up to your height, never adjust the middle legs. So you've got the two middle legs on the 36 Absolute compact. Always set your four legs up first. So the front two legs, the corner legs I would call them, put it on your platform. If it needs adjusting because the platform's a bit out of level, whatever, adjust your four legs. Don't mess with those middle ones, because the middle ones is where your foot plate sits. So that's set. So do your 4-block ones up with your levels, get them right, and then adjust the middle legs, but only adjust the middle legs with the internal beep.
Your extension.
Don't adjust it. Don't adjust that. So I see people adjusting their middle legs. No, don't do that, because that's your foot plate set for you. If you need to drop those legs down, use your internal legs. And obviously on the 36, they're really big, chunky internal legs. They're not thin, so it's really, really stable.
Robert has asked, how do you turn the Preston stopwatch off?
Robert, you don't. That thing goes day and night. That you can't do that. That is on. I must admit, I've had mine for ages, and I'm going, how does this battery keep going? You don't turn it off. I think what it does, it goes into time mode. I think mine does, because every time I use it, I put it on and it's in time mode. So I've got to reset it to stopwatch. But you can't. I don't think you can turn it off. But it comes. I haven't changed my battery yet. It's only one of those little round watch battery things. And I don't know what batteries they are. Perhaps they're like proper. Hey, they seem to go on and on and on. So don't worry about it too much. But you can't. I don't think you can turn it off. I think once it's on, it's on.
Yeah. Lee Garner has said, as we go into the cooler months, targeting silvers, what would be your go-to ground bait mix? So looking at this, I would think this is like commercial silverfish.
Yeah. At the moment, if I was going to somewhere, for example, here, Bitterwell, anywhere in the country, I'll be using Pro Fat Chiggers F1 green. But as it goes colder, then I start adding the Super Crush green. So I'm not really using that. That's up there is basically I'll go from F1 to that.
Yeah.
That like a crushed green expander, Jake, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Very similar to crushed expander, really, but it's a different pellet.
Yeah, it's a green expander. It's what a lot of people refer to as like your koi pellet or your green koi expander. Yeah, just a really nice fluffy ground bait that takes on loads of water, so you can still mix it dry and have it like dry and cloudy, but you can also like wet it up. It'll just take on so much water and feed it a bit stodgier. Yeah,
I think for me, F1 Pro Fatchers is a easy, perfect all round mix for whatever you're fishing for, especially on a commercial or natural really water. And then as it goes off, once the weights get a bit lower, the fish are a bit harder to catch, and that Super Crush green comes in on its own. I think it's just like Jake said, it's real fluffy. You can mix it how you want it. You can mix it like a slop. If it's one of them days where you think a slop's working really well, then you can make it. It's like Super Crush expander. You can make that into a slop, can't you? If you want to. It's one of the, sort of just easy to mix up as a slop, really. So. Yeah. That would be the 3 bags really. Pro Fatters would be my base mix, and then I'd add in either F1 green or F1 whatever dark if you go into a lake which is really clear. I've just gone green mad. I have. Everything seems to be green at the minute.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just gone. I don't know. I've just gone green light on everything.
Yeah.
But I do like Fatters Original in my mix. Especially places like Tamar and that, when you get that little bit of fleck in it, you get that little bit of natural fleck in it. I think they like that when it's all bombing about. But when winter comes, Pro Fatchers, F1 or Super Crush green.
Sounds
Job
good.
done.
Sounds good. Hi Des, I was wondering if you have noticed the fishing start to change yet with the bad weather.
Yes. On carp waters, it seems to be a lot harder to catch them early. It seems to be really slow. It's like they've come up. If you go to a venue at the moment and you can't catch shallow, and there's lots of venues now, you don't seem to catch shallow like you used to. Even with that bit of sun out yesterday, the fish were really, they just didn't want to fish. They wanted to be up. So they're bombing around all over the place, where a couple of weeks ago, they'd be catching them short early. That seems to be getting later and later. If not, it won't happen for you in some areas. That's the way it is. That's fishing. And obviously how much bait you're feeding. Weeks ago, you'd probably be going through possibly a kilo to a kilo and a half of ground bait down the edges and stuff. Now, probably only mix a kilo up because it's just not happening until later on. So that's the things that I've seen. I'm not buying 3 to 4 pints of maggots. I'm buying 2 because you just know everything's just out so much later now. You don't need all that bait.
Yeah.
And micros are coming into their own again now. There'll be a lot of micro, fishing over micros now, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's what you've got to be aware of. The micros, even in deep water where it's fizzing, you think, I don't really want to feed micros there because it's like they're going to be difficult to catch. But unless you put micros in, nothing happens.
Yeah, that's usually the sign, isn't it? When you can get away with feeding micros in deeper water and it doesn't turn your peg into a complete mess, sort of thing. Like
done that. If you'd done that 2-3 weeks ago, my God, you'd have it.
Yeah, jacuzzi.
You just want. Well, the only bait you'd be fishing over it is paste.
Yeah.
Where now it feels like you can put like a piece of corn on, or you can put like maybe on, or even an expander if it's like that. It is on the change, and that's what I'd be looking for, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Zolt has said he
Oh,
he has a lot of questions.
Does he? Problem is with Zoe, right? He has a lot of questions. They don't never seem to come to anything. He went to Sherwood Forest Fishery the other day, and I done some filming there 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, this is a beautiful fishery. It's right up my street. Bit of meat, bit of pellet, quite shallow, good size carp, good size skimmers. And when I spoke to him on the phone, he's like, oh yeah, I've drawn here just from where we done some filming. I thought, oh, lovely, Tom, lovely. But I thought I was at home actually. I phoned him about halfway through. Any good? No, not happening. I don't quite. I know people think I get to him a bit, but then when I speak to him, I'm like, I don't know what he's doing. I don't get it.
I'm sure he'll answer that.
I put the phone down and I'm like, what's he doing? Has he actually been listening? Because I just don't quite. Like, yeah, it's funny. It's hilarious, really. Yeah. But we get on really, really. Bear in mind, he goes out with all of us consultants filming, and all that, and then he goes fishing, and I'm like, what are you doing that for?
Yeah.
It's funny.
He does all right when it's chucking a feeder about and stuff, though, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, but then I said to him, do some meat up, because I think, I'm pretty sure that Sherwood Forest allows meat. I mean, meat fishing's brilliant. I said, have you got any meat? No, don't bother. Like,
my mate John Asherell's been going to Sherwood Forest. I think he's been winning a bit.
On meat?
I'm not sure how it... no, I don't think he might have done, but I don't know for certain. I just know that he'd said that he'd seen Zolt down there and John had won the match.
Yeah. Well, John, give him some advice, John. Help him out. It's only about 15 minutes from where Zolt lives. It's absolutely perfect. I'd love to have a fishery like that on my doorstep. Amazing. Has he got questions or no?
He's not put any. He's just put laughing faces. He's just put laughing faces. My mate Matt Drinkwater, is he who you were sorting the box out this morning for?
He picked his new box up this morning. He's very happy with it.
Yeah.
Compact 36.
He
loves it.
Was he on his own, or did he have anyone with him?
No, he had his son with him.
Ah, okay.
Why'd you ask that, Jake?
I don't know.
What? Don't know. You need to tell me. What's that about?
Matt Davis. Des just bought myself an X15. I fish matches where you can catch a bit of everything. What elastics would you recommend?
Matt, if you're fishing for everything, that 11 Jura takes some beating, to be honest. Or if it's a lot more carpy, then go up to a 13. But 11's a lovely elastic, because if there's odd decent skimmer, F1 and the odd heart, that 11 won't take it. It takes some beating. But if there's a lot more carp, step up to the 13. But 11 would be my choice of elastic for that sort of fishing. 100%.
Nice. Ludovic?
Or original black 8. Because that can be an amazing elastic. That if there's a lot more silverfish in there, original black 8 can be amazing. I use that to my top kits. It's a beautiful elastic and it's super strong. And you get a lot of elastic. You can do two top kits out of the originals.
Yeah.
So really good value for money as well.
Yeah, it is. Ludovic has said, hi Des, have you been able to test the new MCX poles coming out? Hope you're doing good.
MCX, is that the European ones?
It'll be the European ones, yeah.
Yes, I've had a little go with them with Olivier, who's the French consultant. And let me tell you something, Olivier is he's an angler. He's one of the best anglers in France, feeder fishing and pole fishing. He's put his mark on those poles. I had a quick dabble with them. They're absolutely stunning. They're built around the Superior X's that we do now. Obviously only 13 metres, but yeah, if Olivier says they're good, they will be bang on the money. So, take it from me that he wouldn't let them poles go through unless they were what he wants to use.
Yeah.
They're very, very nice poles.
I'm not sure. SKRRT 360 has put Ulrich Des.
That sounds like a rally car.
It's like, yeah, Screet 360. Ulrich Des. What's some good matches / venues to start out?
You're taking the mick out of my Bristolian accent.
That.
Ulrich Des. Was it a Northern accent?
Ulrich, yeah, it's more northern Ulrich rather than.
That's all right.
Yeah. What's some good matches / venues to start out with on the southwest? I've been pleasure fishing a lot and have not been on a match yet.
Oh, there's loads in there.
Acorn.
Acorn's good if you're near Bristol. You got Acorn. You've got Bitterwell on a Tuesday. If you have a Tuesday off, Bitterwell's amazing, especially if you like your silverfish fishing. Acorn's another one. Loads of carp, loads of silvers. You've got Viaduct, which is near Somerton, on the sort of the Yeovil side of it. Yeah. Land's End Fishery. There's so many. Trying to think of like your weekend matches really. But Viaduct, they do a match there every Thursday. And a bit do every Saturday and Sunday. There's some big weights of silvers, and obviously there's great big carp in there. They catch big weights of carp. Going south, where have you got? You've got Stafford Moor, beautiful fishery. If you're down that area, that sort of Winkley, Cornwall sort of area, like South Devon. I'll tell you a real nice place is Orchard Lakes. Orchard Lakes, which is like Salisbury area. If you're around there, that's a good venue. I fished a festival down there earlier in the year. It's absolutely brilliant. Snake Lake, absolutely stuffed with fish. Oh, I can't think of anywhere else really. But southwest, yeah, I think you just got to hunt around where you live really and get into. You want that a venue where you can go, week by week, stay in there if they do get the open matches on the Saturdays or the Sundays.
And don't be afraid to turn up and like if on the first time you fish a match you don't do so well, just like don't take that as I shouldn't be fishing matches. Go back again and learn from your previous time and keep going.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And always ask questions. Always ask some of the guys that that are probably some of the better anglers there. Always ask them how what they're catching on. Try and find out what lines they're fishing with. Don't fish too heavy. Get your elastics right to what you're catching. Just don't go over gunned, and also don't go under gunned. Just try and stay in the middle. Nice elastics, nice lengths. Just don't go absolutely crazy and just start fishing too heavy and things like that. Because I think a lot of people miss out on that. They go there and go, oh yeah, I'm fishing with like 023 main lines and it's just over gunned for the venue.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it that fishing light and nicely does catch you more fish.
Yeah.
But try and stick with a couple of venues. If you just want to get into match fishing, try and stick with a couple of. You might have to move around a little bit till you get to the venues you want to fish, but try and stick with a couple. Don't go to too many. I mean, I go all over the shop, and it is, it's. If I was starting out fishing, I wouldn't want to do that. Try and keep it to like a couple of venues if you can.
Yeah. Bitterwell, so it'll be Paul Isaacs at Bitterwell Lake has said, will anyone stop Ricky Mills becoming triple silvers champ at Bitterwell this November?
Paul, he's going down. Don't worry about Ricky Mills. He's just been very lucky, Ricky. I'm coming back. I wanted to come this week, but I ran out of time, but I'll be back. Don't worry. I'll knock him off his again. Yeah, he'll be gone. I'll take him out this year. So I don't know. He's done all right, Ricky. He's doing well, but it's time to end the
end the streak.
It is. He's going to have to come down with a bang, I think.
Then, hi Des, is it realistic to put an 8mm hard expander pellet, so an unsoaked expander pellet, on the hook with a pellet band? as it softens, will it dissolve, whether on the pole or the method?
Well, obviously, pro expanders, you can put that on. If you want to put that on the band, that's absolutely fine. If you want to do that, obviously it will take a long time for it to like dissolve into an expander.
Yeah.
But it would take it. I would say, I don't know the timings on it, but I would say at least 45 minutes to an hour. That would actually become an expander under the water. But you can do it. I know people that have actually put them pro expanders on a band. So yeah, there's no harm in doing that, but it will take some time to actually turn into expanders.
Yeah.
There's no harm in putting them on a band at all because they sink, so it won't make any difference.
Yeah.
Apart from obviously got the oils and stuff in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Mickey has put, Des, what's a good ground bait to get down in my club lake, which is 12 foot deep on the long pole, predominantly carp, F1s, tench, and barbel, amongst others?
Yeah, sounds like a mega venue, that.
It does.
10 foot deep.
12 foot deep.
Oh, 12 foot. I think that 50-50 would be good for that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I think that would be, because it's a bindy ground bait, you could mix that like I do with either Pro Fatters or some F1 green. And that would be heavy, 100%. In the summer months, you might even want to put, well, not in the summer months, even still now, because the water's still warm enough. You could add into that Periscopex. You could add like the maggot fish meal to give it a bit more particly, and that is quite sticky. Maggot fish meal is quite a sticky ground bait. It's really easy to mix up, and if you want to put some of that in the mix as well, but with your F1s in it as well, I'd probably stick with quite a finer ground bait. So 50-50. Pro Fatters, you wouldn't go wrong with that, and that's what I've been using. Apart from the bit of F1, that's what I've been using at Tamar, and I like it because you can do separate things with it. You can make it into a hard ball. You know, when you want to put it on a method, it'll stick on the method. Like, you know, if I want to put it on, double skin it, I can put a bit on the feeder first, cram it on, and when I wind back with the skimmer on, it's still in the frame.
Yeah,
and I can't get that. I couldn't get that by fishing without the 50-50 in it. That's why I've sort of started using it.
Yeah.
Because if I get asked, Des, why have you started using 50-50? I do think about my ground baits quite a bit. And it's not always about the smells, and a lot of the time it's about what you can do by mixing it, like what you can do with it, the versatility of it.
Yeah.
You know, even with Max Method Mix has to be my favourite all-time ground bait. If I went to Tamar and I wanted to fish a flatbed method in 18-20 foot of water, I would struggle to mix that to stay on the feeder.
Yes.
I could mess about a bit. I'd probably have to have it quite dry. That 50-50 is like, I don't know, it's different. It's heavy. It's quite claggy when you want it to be.
Yeah. Fairly oily.
And then I mixed it. Yeah, oily. And that's what it's about, that pellet, and it's very oily. And anything oily does stick really well. Yeah.
Yeah. And you've just got that extra confidence that it's going to get down in one piece, rather than if you chuck a method out in that sort of depth, you sort of think as your ball come off your method before the feeders hit the bottom, sort of thing.
100% comes off.
Yeah.
100%, but I know I can mix it and make it stay in that frame. That bit in that frame in there, that's the most important bit for me.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's why I got the best of both, really. We should do a ground bait, Jeff. Jake, Jeff.
Best of both.
Best of both.
Get Hovis collaboration.
Yeah.
John Oakenfull says, hi Des and Jake, thanks for these live sessions, they're brilliant, I learn a lot. Could you tell me the strength of fish meal content in Super Crush Green, say compared to Thatcher's and F1 Green?
I'll let Jeff do that. Jake knows more about what goes in these ground baits than what I do.
Yeah.
I just smell them, like them, mix them up, and think that's really nice.
Yeah.
The actual ingredients side of it, Jake knows them more than me.
Yeah. So
I'll let you have this one.
So Thatcher's, compared to the whole range of Sonu, is one of the very highest in terms of fish meal content. The difference with Thatcher's, say, if I was to put it on par, I would say like you've got your 50-50s, which are 50-50 original, 50-50 green, which are also at the very top of like the fish meal contents within the Sonubaits range. And Thatcher's is right up there with it because of the amount of neat fish meal that goes into Thatcher's. So a lot of people know the backstory of Thatcher's. It was a tackle shop mix, and within that it had various different ingredients. It had crushed pellets, it had some, I don't think it's any I don't think it's hidden that one of the ingredients within the original Thatcher's was Sensor's Magic, and then it also had some neat fish meals in there as well. When we got
the most expensive fish meals as well, Jake,
yeah, it? And that was one of the key things. It had very, very top quality ingredients within there, and Sensor's Magic. When it came to us getting the ingredients from the Thatcher's Tackle Shop, Rodney Mills there, we saw all them ingredients. Obviously, when it comes to it, we go, right, so it needs this top quality fish meal in there, this amount of crushed pellets. We know exactly what's in the other ingredients, so Sensor's Magic, which is a non-fish meal ground bait. So we can put that broken down, a bit of brown crumb, a bit of biscuit, that sort of stuff that is it within that mix to create the original Thatcher's ground bait. Within there is that element of neat fish meal, which makes it, when you get a crushed pellet, there's an element of fish meal in there, but a crushed expander is quite low fish meal, whereas if you start adding in neat fish meals into ground bait, all of a sudden it becomes a very high percentage of fish meal within a mix. So Thatcher's ranks very high up, but the sort of unique element of Thatcher's is the fact that it has got some non-fish meal ingredients in there, which I think is why it's such a good all-rounder and appeals to your silverfish as well. Even though it's at that top end of fish meal content, it contains them non-fish meal ingredients, which then sort of balances it up and creates like your sort of all-round ground bait mix.
You know what was so amazing about Thatcher's is years ago when Rodney started making it, and Sonia wasn't even about then. Sonia wasn't even in a business, and back in the day, fish meal ground bait for silvers was like non-existent. It was like
frowned upon. Yeah,
wouldn't waste of time. You wouldn't catch. And to be fair, I fished a lot of fish meal ground baits years ago, and the silverfish fishing was pretty poor on it. It was never felt like it was doing the thing. And then Rodney produced that, and he said to me, Des, try it, see what you think. And I was just going to these venues and catching on it, and I'm like, how can this be? And it wasn't to do with the timing. This was like years and years ago, 20 years ago, I would say, at least. Yeah, it would have been more than that, because I was with Dorking for 20 years.
Yeah.
And it was just like the confidence that gave me, that ground bait, of going where. And I've always said to people, if you're struggling, if you're a bit confused, just use that. And that's why I use it as my base mix in like a lot of my fishing. But when I want to go to skimmer, roach fishing, it was weird back in the day that everybody, me, Steve Mayo, several other anglers, just using it and catching everything, and it caught on massively because it was one of them ground baits where you could just catch anything on it.
Yeah.
Where other fish back in the day, it was like the kiss of death.
Yeah. Which is why it's such a strange sort of, it kind of doesn't make sense, but because of that what you're saying, where even though it's a strong fish meal ground bait, it appeals to everything. And even before like your sort of fish meal ground bait revolution as such, where everything's now gone down the fish meal route, it was like the first one to open that up, wasn't it? And
a long time ago.
Yeah,
a long time. Not like breed.
Yeah, so that's Thatcher's. So Thatcher's very strong. F1 green and Super Crush green are very, very similar in terms of their fish meal content. Super Crush green is pure this green sort of koi expander, which has got more fish meal in it ever so slightly than our sort of dark expander, which F1 Dark is a black expander that we use, which is tailored to our specification. We have a natural, a red, a green and a black expander that's all tailored to our specification. And a lot of our mixes are based around those, with then other types of pellets mixed in, whether it's coarse pellets, halibut pellets, trout pellets, all those sorts of types of pellets as well, and then neat fish meals, flavours, biscuit, breads, anything like that. The dark expander is the sort of weakest fish meal of all of the ones that all of those 4 expanders. F1 Green contains a percentage of our green expander and a percentage of our dark expander. So when it comes to which is stronger or weaker out of Super Crush Green, which is 100% green, and the F1 Green, which is a percentage of both, Super Crush Green would be marginally stronger fish meal. Probably a fluffier mix to feel, so when you add water, a lot like Super Crush Expander, which is just 100% a natural expander. It's very, very fluffy. You can chuck a load of water into it, it expands up, it fluffs up and goes very fluffy. Whereas our dark expander is a bit more sort of sandier to feel. So when you're mixing it in a bucket and it hits the side of the bucket, you can sort of hear it. It's a bit sandier, a little bit grittier, even though it's ground fine. And F1 Green contains some of that. So from your sort of list there, you've got Thatcher's up here, but then you've got Super Crush Green and F1 Green, which are at the very lower end, and then there's a lot of mixes in our range that sort of fill the gap in between. Things like Marine Green, 50-50, your sort of Power Scope X's, your Match Method mix ranges that are all in that gap of mixes that you've not mentioned. So hopefully that gives you a bit of
let you answer that question, James.
Yeah, so hopefully that covers and gives you a bit of an outline. But honestly, before I joined Sonubaits and learned everything that went into Groundbait, compared to now that I know what goes into our mixes, how we do it, my understanding and like knowledge around it, it's amazing. Like it helps you to narrow down what's in Groundbaits and my own choices, because I know exactly what's in them, so I'll just go, well, I'll use that and that. And Des is the same, because Des will always use a base mix and tweak that base mix from that. So if you've got a favourite, so Des is a Match Method mix and then Thatcher's, and you can always go, well, Thatcher's is at the top end, and he'll weaken it by adding your F1s or your Super Crush Greens, and then with his Match Method mix, he'll always tweak it. So Match Method mix with a bit of maggot fish meal if he wants a bit more sort of foodie content in there, that sort of thing. And that's always a good sort of way of working with your Groundbaits. Yeah. Right, we'll move on, because that was quite an extensive answer. But if you've got any further questions on what I've just said, by all means, throw them in. David Griffiths says,
Hi, David.
watched your video on fishing a few feet away from the margin rather than close in. Worked really well for me. Does this apply to the far bank too?
Yeah, 100%, David. I think you can be. I think years ago, when I used to go to moorlands a lot, there was a lot of that fishing to be had. I think the problem now, it's not a problem. I think the difference nowadays is these fish are so wise on coming into shallow water to feed. You know, I know obviously the time of year is different, but there's a lot. I think we're so educated now, aren't we? I think we're more educated now as anglers than we've ever been. On, you know, years ago when a lot of my fishing, like moorlands, Woodlands View, you know, loads of places like that, we weren't allowed to use groundbait. Groundbait wasn't even about like to use. It was there, but you couldn't use it on a lot of venue, like commercials. And then all of a sudden they started allowing groundbait, and that changed the way that you fish. You know, everything was then in shallow water because the fish would come in and they just loved feeding over it, feeding on it. But there's always a kind of depends on the venue. This venue here, you've got a lovely shelf when the lake was built. So you've got like the margin, which could be anywhere from, I don't know, 20 inches to 2.5 foot. And it goes down and you've got a plateau. And then it goes down again to like where the silt would start. God, if you can get on that plateau at certain times of year, it's amazing. Because it's like 3.5, 4 foot deep. But there's a lot of venues you can't get that. The shelves might not even have been, the lakes might not even have been designed for that. That's where this keep net comes in, fishing past your keep net. Fishing right by your nets. Because it just creates that, like Jake said earlier, it's that hard bottom, clean bottom. But so it depends on the venue, really. But there's no harm in actually fishing. My brother used to do it all the time. He used to fish a lot of what I call like margin, but away from the margin in slightly deeper water. And that will come into play now while it cools off 100%. But never be never. You've got to set both up sometimes. You've got to set 3 foot, 3.5 foot line up, and then up into the margins. And even in the winter time, it just depends on the venue. Some venues it's hard to get that depth of water. You can't get that depth of water because you just haven't got that shelf. It's either margin or like out onto the flat bottom.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you've got that option, definitely you need to fish it, especially now it's been a bit cooler.
Yeah, definitely. Adrian Smith says, "Hiya Des and Jay, can you please tell me if there is anything I can get from Preston for my Ignition 360 so that I can use my other side trays as the legs are too far apart?" I'm guessing that's for like a non-Preston side tray. Is there anything that can sort of tweak or adjust the distance?
Well, you've got the new side trays coming, which they're fully adjustable. So the actual leg knuckles will literally go everywhere you want them. So if you're after a side, I can't quite get that question really, but I think he's probably struggling to get
a specific side tray.
Yeah, you can't get the right. Is that what I think? That's what it's saying. You can't get the right distance between the legs.
I'm not sure if it's that or that he's got other side trays from other manufacturers that maybe don't fit because of the knuckles aren't in the right place. So is there anything that you can add on to change? So like almost like a hinge that you can.
No, because the new QR block which is coming would only fit the new side trays. It won't fit the old side trays, but they might fit possibly. I doubt it. But they may possibly fit his side trays. I'm not sure what side trays he's got.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a tricky one that, without actually looking at something and maybe getting my head around it, because there's different products in there that you could maybe attach to it and get over that, but I don't know without sort of looking at it.
Yeah,
a bit of a tricky one that to actually.
We'd have to see. Yeah, like Des says, there are sort of off-box attachments that you may be able to use as spacers to like hinge something out so that you can create the distance. For any sort.
You've got like the right arm blocks and stuff.
Yeah.
These little because they might be able to put that on and attach it to that. It's a bit of a tricky one that to answer. It could
be, Adrian, just a case of taking it and messing about with some.
Message me on Messenger. Send me a picture of your box set up, and I'll try and work some out for you if I can.
Yeah, that'd be good. What would you put on the hook for roach on a natural lake this time of year? What would be your hook bait of choice?
Well, hook bait on the weekend, no doubt about it, was a head of rhododendron. Because one, you catch multiple fish on it. So if you're catching speed fishing like I was, you don't want to be changed. Like I caught some fish on castor. I mean, I would say head of worm. If you're feeding the big casters, obviously, normally it's maggots, casters, and worms for roach. Pinkies are like there just in case, but if you can catch on a head of a worm, brilliant. If not, maggots is your best bait, really.
Yeah. Carlo, why doesn't Sonubaits have boilies in their range? I make boilies with Super Crush Groundbait and I can catch well on them. We have had boilies in the range, and we do mini boilies like your bandums, your spikums, that sort of thing. And we have had boilies in the range as well. We've had Code Red, 24/7, those sorts of things in the past. The problem is, I suppose, is Sonubaits is very much seen as a match brand, and carp anglers don't like that we're a match brand because carp anglers want to use carpy stuff. And because we're very much seen as a match brand, using the name Sonubaits within the carp world doesn't really work. Like, obviously we have particles that are very popular, our corn's very popular with carp anglers as well, liquids, that sort of thing. But when it comes to boilies in particular, they've either, Code Red was very popular but then has been inconsistent, so we decided to not do it anymore because we weren't happy necessarily with the quality every single time. And then a lot of carp anglers as well like freezer baits rather than what we were sort of supplying, which was your sort of bagged up ready to go baits. And then it becomes a space issue and a cost issue in a way when it comes to sponsoring carp anglers, because you have to give away so much like boilies for promotion and that sort of thing that it just isn't viable for us to do it. We do now have Avid that do boilies, so our carp brand Avid now produce boilies, so that's an option. But unfortunately, we're seen as a match brand, so therefore we cater for the match industry, and boilies don't really fall into that. Andrew, hello Des. The off-box pole support.
Andrew.
Oh, he says the off-box pole support's a life changer for him.
Brilliant, Andrew.
So he's loving it.
One thing I want to point out about this. Now, people are getting confused that the pole support system, right, goes on the middle leg and the front leg of your foot plate. It doesn't go on the back leg. So if you've got a 6-legged seat box, which most of them are nowadays, it goes on the middle one and the front one. It doesn't go on. The people are putting them on the back. It doesn't work the same, and it's not as far out, obviously. So make sure. But thank you for that. I've had loads of comments saying it's an absolute game changer. There's people sending me pictures of their children that have been fishing. They're fishing 11 meters like they've been fishing all their life.
Amazing.
It is absolutely mega. Yeah, I'm not using mine too much at the moment, but I know I will be, especially now the weather's getting windier and things like that. But yeah, it will be. It's a great little thing. And thanks for all the comments, because it means a lot. You know, sat around a table thinking about that. I was thinking, is it going to work out? And up to now, they've sold out on the first batch, and I think that just proves a point, really.
Yeah, well, it's a product. It's a product that helps a lot of people that struggle at longer ranges, don't have a second. Like, if you can't get round to holding your pole with two hands across two legs, it just makes it so much easier, doesn't it? A brilliant little product, that. It's awesome. Definitely. Mickey, apologies from us, Mickey. So you're not being ignorant. We maybe just didn't mention it. Des, could you grab us a bag of the two 50/50 mixes, please? Just to show Mickey. So 50/50 is one of the Groundbait mixes within our Super Crush range. There's two in that range. You've got 50/50 green and 50/50 original. Des likes the green because he's he just likes green ground baits basically.
What was the sweet corn bloke called on the telly? Green Giant.
The old Green Giant.
Green Giant.
Green Giant.
So that's the stuff there.
Yeah, so 50/50.
Like Jake said earlier, it's like when you put that in a bucket, it's quite gritty, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's quite a gritty mix until you actually put water with it, and you'll find that, like Jake said just a minute ago.
Yeah.
When he was explaining about from the ground baits, it is one of those gritty, and you always find with a gritty ground bait, that means there's some high oil pellets in there.
Yeah.
Or high oil ground pellets, which, if you want a real fish mealy ground bait, that stuff is probably, like you said earlier, it's probably one of the most
Potent.
one of the most sort of mealy ground baits out there, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. It is.
It's lovely. It's a really lovely ground bait, and it's great for paste fishing as well.
Yeah.
Want to make a paste up? Okay. And was it Super Crush?
No, that it was just the 50-50.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. Cheers for these videos. Really helped me do well at my local lakes I go to, much to some of the blokes' annoyance. So, Universal Cat's been winning.
That's what it's all about.
Well done. John Oakenfull, thanks Jake, great answer on the Super Crush Green, much appreciated. Wonky's Fishing Tales, great name. With regards to the pellet oil, do you use this in conjunction with the expander pellets, and when do you add them? During the water phase or after they're soaked?
You could, the best way of doing that is before, so it soaks it in. So you can use bait booster.
More liquid flavour than pellet oil though for expanders, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you can put the liquid flavour in. I would probably put the liquid flavour in if you're doing your expanders in a bag. If you're doing them in a little tub like I do, put the liquid flavouring in the water.
Or a bait booster, like you said.
It's all going in. You could put it on afterwards, but if you do forget, then obviously just stick it over the top in a tub once they've soaked. But to get that full smell to go in those pellets, like put it in the water with your pellets, and it just soaks all the smell in. If you want to double dose it, as in, once they've soaked up, then put a little bit over the top, absolutely fine. It's going to make no difference at all. One thing I need to talk about, talking about that, is I've actually been using the liquid, what's it called? Liquid flavouring.
Absolute liquid flavouring.
In my brown bait. So down Tamar, I've been putting a whole tub, in my mix, I've been putting nearly a whole bottle of Banoffee liquid flavouring in.
Nice.
Because the way I think about it is no different when I go anywhere where you see a lot of, there is carp anglers that fish Tamar, and they go there to catch the carp, and that they're fishing with probably big hook baits that the bream can't eat and the skimmers can't eat, but they'll be putting loads and loads of particle baits in, like boilies, hemp, corn, and they will be using loads of different liquid flavourings. And to me, Banoffee, Manila, anything like that is what carp anglers use.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I've been mixing my ground bait. I don't put it in the water. I mix my ground bait, put it through a riddle, then I get a sort of half a bottle to 3/4 of a bottle of liquid flavouring and put it in the ground bait, and it absolutely stinks of Banoffee.
Yeah.
I just think, for me, it's just a nice smell, because the ground baits I use, apart from F1, so 50-50, if you smell 50-50, it's sort of a meaty, there's no Pacific smell, Jake, is there?
It's ground up pellets and fish meal. That's
ground up pellet. The same with Thatcher's. It's not like you can go, that's not like if you put like sweet maple, super sweet, then you've got a massive like F1. In my mind, I just want to make that smell different. Everybody,
so you're creating whereas some sweet fish meal mixes are like at the weaker end, like an F1, you're creating a strong fish meal but still with that sweet flavour as well.
And I use a lot of that stuff, the same as bait booster, when I go to bigger lakes such as Tamar, Shearwater. For me, that's when those things come into their own. You're trying to just make your ground bait different to someone else's.
Yeah.
Stick. You see them all down Tamar. They're little bags of little favourites and stuff, because it does smell nice, and I cop it out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, oh yeah, you're putting that in there, are you? Yeah. They have the little bottles in there, little bags and stuff. So yeah, so I've been putting that liquid flavour in my ground baits. I think it just makes the whole, and it stinks. It stinks of nothing. I love that smell.
Yeah, it's a great little tip there. Tony has said we're coming up to 2 hours, so we'll get through the last couple of questions.
My hips just started hurting. I've got a few injuries, Jake. My knee was the first injury.
You know what? That if you become an absolute compact rather than an absolute mess, you'll be all right. That'll happen.
An absolute cock up would be next. Honestly, I done my knee in the other week. My knee was like twice the size of my other knee. And then I was doing something at home the other day, and I walked out in the garden. And I twisted my ankle. Right, so I was down Tamar for 2 days. Walked about 4 miles. I'm not kidding you. I was ruined. And then yesterday, one of my toes started hurting. And I'm like, what's going on with me, man?
You broke a broken man.
I'm broken. I need an MOT.
Right, Tony the fisherman has said, afternoon, I fish a deep water for skimmers and they love expanders in the winter. What would you recommend to get micros down in deep water?
Bait booster. And don't I know fishing for skimmers, you probably do want to soak them to the max. Bait booster, if you mix a little bit of ground bait, something like not even crust expander really, because that'd be really light, but probably Matt's method mix. Only mix probably a pint. Put some bait booster with it, and then mix your micros into your ground bait until you've got like an 80%, 90% ball of micros with a bit of ground bait around it. And then if you put your bait booster in your ground bait, mix your ground bait, riddle it off nice, so it's like not like fluffy. And then put your bait booster in it, mix that around so it's like ready to go, and then go like 3 handfuls of micros to 1 handful of ground bait, and then mix that round so you've got enough ground bait to compact it together. Or if you want to use like a bait punch and things like that, which is what I do sometimes, especially in the winter when you don't really need to, if you're not feeding that much, use a bait punch, a big bait. Preston still use them. They still make them old bait punch, the big ones.
Mm.
The big bait punches they used to do, Jake?
Yeah.
They still make them. They were really good for that because you could get like a cube or a tube of micros to get them down to the bottom. But put a little bit of ground bait in, mixed with bait booster, and that would help it massively. But if you want just micros, don't soak them for too long. Do what you would do, what I've always done on the method. Soak them for like 2 minutes, because they will bind together. Then it might not be right for skimmers. They might, in the wintertime, they do like those fully soaked micros rather than like dry, not too. They're a bit funny, aren't they, skimmers in the winter?
Yeah.
They want those real soft micros where if you put them in hard, they're like, oh,
yeah.
Not interested.
It's hard because I know exactly what you said. Like if they're too soft, you just can't bind them into a ball. They just don't. They just break up.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying there with the ground bait's a really good little trick. Like just enough ground bait to just bind the micros to get it down, basically, isn't it?
Exactly what you would do on a method feeder.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. If you wanted a real soft micro pellet to stick through a method, you would add enough ground bait just to give it that like make it bind.
Yeah.
And that'd be the same. Well, that's what I'd be doing.
Yeah, sounds good. David Griffiths again has said, Des, do the square Superior butt sections fit all Superior poles?
They don't fit. That's a good question.
Is it the 35? I think it's the 35 down.
Upwards,
they don't.
They fit the 35. They fit the 35, the 55, the 75, 95, and
carp.
And carp, and the carp pole. So it's the 15 and the 25 is the only 2 that they don't fit.
Yeah.
They're mustard, them things.
Yeah.
Honestly, I fished with one yesterday, 14.5 meters, that dolly on it. It is brilliant.
Yeah, so comfortable.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. As long as you're not tipping a cad pot over constantly.
Yeah.
Like they're so comfortable when you're sat there out at long range, sat with they're brilliant, aren't they?
One thing to be aware of though, because they are when you got your rollers set up with that square dolly on, make sure you got them nice, because they're quite a heavy. They're not heavy, but they make a bit of difference in the pole.
Yeah.
So if you're swinging them over like one roller at 30 meters, make sure your roller's set up nice, or try and use two, because there is quite a lot of energy, when you're shipping out. When you've got it in your hand, it feels amazing. When you've got them behind you on the rollers, there is a little bit of weight difference on that.
You don't want your last few sections hanging too far off the back of your back roller, do you?
No, you don't. Not with that dolly on the end.
No.
So just be aware of that. We'll have to adjust your rollers a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good bit of advice. Sonny says, if you were similar question to previous, just do these last couple. If you were softening up 2 mil pellets, would you wet them with water, then add liquid flavour after, which would make them softer, or just use liquid flavour only so they don't become too soft?
Use the liquid flavouring in the water. If you're softening 2 mils, what you've got to remember is all that water gets soaked into the pellet. So it makes absolute sense to basically, what I would do is put the pellets in a pellet wetter or a container, whichever you're doing. Put as much water as you want over top your pellets. So like I said earlier, if you want them really, really soft and you're pole fishing, put them about an inch. But as soon as that water's over it, put your liquid flavouring in it. Just swing them around a little bit, and all that will go straight into your pellets. If you're fishing with a method feeder and you want them a little bit, that you're only leaving them for 2 minutes, then if you wanted to, just add a little bit afterwards. But I mean, you can use bait booster or liquid flavouring either. Yeah. But if you want them totally soaked, add it before. If you want it for the method, I think you could do both. You could either add it before or add it after. It won't affect the pellets that much if you wanted to leave them for like 2 minutes for the method and just added a bit of that over the top. It wouldn't make any difference at all. Yeah,
sounds good. And
there's a lot of people using that liquid flavouring now. You see those more and more people actually like putting it on their pellets, putting it on their expanders. It's become really popular.
Yeah,
in getting like lovely smell in, like I do with my groundbait. If I'm fishing with a groundbait which is like got no sort of smell, we all love smells, don't we?
Yeah.
And I was chatting to a guy this morning, mate. It was, remember the thing on the telly called it was Bob James and someone else. What was the program called? And can't remember. And they said to me, he said, Des, do you actually think that like additives and smells make a difference? And I said, well, I'll tell you something that I watched X years ago. These two guys were up in the tree, Passion for Angling it was called.
Yeah.
And they're up this tree and they're in this amazing, this famous lake. And I think it held the British carp record years ago. And these carp were swimming up and down this lake. And they're up a tree watching them, all great big like units, like 30 to 40 pounders. And they were going up and down this lake. It was probably like 5 or 6 foot deep. You could see every single thing on the bottom. It was that clear. And they chucked about 6 boilies in. And these carp have been going up and down. They were like, oh, look at the size of them. Look at that one. Look at that one. Right? And they took these 6 boilies in. And these carp were swimming about a foot deep. And I remember the cameraman was obviously looking down. And these carp come along like that. And they've been going up and down. All of a sudden, they come along and they went like that. They were all over the shop. And that was nothing to do with sight. That was all to do with smell.
Yeah.
And the next minute, 2 of them were like, whoa, on the bottom. You could see the mud bellowing up, all the bubbles. And there was no way they seen them boilies, but they knew from the smell. And I thought, from that day on, their sense of smell is so amazing. I mean, there's nothing to what we smell. Do you know what I mean? Their sense of smell is incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. And I think people are like, they come up with their own little systems of what they put in and all that, and it's quite secretive sometimes. There's a guy, Kevo, his name is, he fishes here, and he gave me a bit of a battering on the method the other day for a while.
For a while.
Yeah. And he said, I'm not telling you what I put in there. I'm not telling you. I thought, you little run. But they're secretive, aren't they? You know what I mean? I find it, like, it was funny. It was. He said, I ain't telling you nothing about what I put in my pellets and stuff. And but anyway, I don't know what I just went off on one then.
Yeah, but it's good. Right, final question. Pete Carver, he says,
Hi, Pete.
on a slightly different note, my local venue, Plantation, that's the one up the road, isn't it?
Just up the road there.
Plantation Lakes and Ship Lake fishery, a lot of the bream jump out of the water when you hook them. Why is this?
I think it's just panic mode. I think they know something's not right and they just bolt out. Moorlands years ago, Pete, it's the fish bank pool. Bank pool was probably the first leg I ever fished where they done it, and I've been fishing like meat or corn at 14.5 meters, like when the fishing was difficult. Your float would go, and before you struck, a bream would be out of the water. But it wasn't even connected. It wasn't even connected to you. You missed the bite. And it's amazing. I think it's just panic. I think they just know that there's something wrong, and they just bomb out the water. And more venues do it now, and even on the feeder sometimes. Some really shallow venues I've been going. You look out, you're waiting for your tip to go around the method, and you think, well, there's a bream just top there, and it's already connected to your feeder. It's already on, and you're like, what's happening there? And he's just hooked itself, and he's come panicking out of the water. They do it here a lot on Acorn, like, because they're good. It's always the good ones as well, isn't it? It's always the big ones, and they come off.
It's always them big ones.
Yeah, you think, you little sod, I've just lost that.
Yeah, because they must know that it's a way to, whether they just know, like, it loosens the rig and it's slackened, because you pull out of them if they do it every now and then, don't they?
It's just, I think they obviously over the years they've been caught a few times, and they know, don't they? They suck something in, they go, oh no, and then they're like, they're off. No different to a carp. It hooks itself on the method feeder in a way.
Yeah.
The aggressive bite is for one reason, because it's hooked itself and it's gone, oh, I've made a mistake, and it's bolted off, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So that's what that. So
Right. Okie dokie. Well, that's a good couple of hours I've kept you there, Des.
Thank you very much for everybody watching, and have a great weekend. Hopefully the weather's gonna be good. I just wish it would just another few weeks yet before it's rubbish. But I think we're going to be lucky this weekend. I think we're going to get away with it.
Yeah,
it's going to be up 20 degrees again, isn't it? So make the most of it. If you're pleasure fishing or match fishing, make the most of it. So I think it's going to probably go downhill a little bit after next week.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much.
It will do, because and it's Tamar, so it will be probably 150 mile an hour winds and loads of rain. So, but thank you very much for watching from me and Jake.
Yeah.
If you put some comments on here and stuff like that, and thank you very much for all the positive vibes, really. Yeah,
and anybody, if you are watching after, obviously we've been live, it'll be on YouTube. If you've got more questions, stick them in the comments anyway, because we'll come back to them in the comments on YouTube. But thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks a lot, and have a great weekend.